Hello friends, I've tried out the Linux system on the RGDS, and today I'm here to share my user experience. I'll start with my conclusion. There are improvements in many areas, but there are still numerous shortcomings. This is currently the first version, and I'll be reporting some of these issues to the officials. Firstly, concerning the synchronization of the top and bottom screens on the Linux system, which many of you are curious about, I will again demonstrate this to you in slow motion so you can observe it clearly. The synchronization issue you see was actually improved somewhat in the Android version. If you're not in slow motion mode, it's almost impossible to perceive. However, if we decelerate and magnify it, there remains a minute discrepancy, a degree of latency that is, I'd say, less than a single frame. Regarding the touch delay, I personally consider it to be within an acceptable range. The deviation between the stylus tip and the direction Link's head is facing is already very minimal, barely noticeable in actual gameplay. Let's try a rhythm game. Here, I've synced the footage with a video of it being played on the original machine. Sorry about that, I got carried away and messed up a bit. I really think many NDS touch games require very precise operations because of their intricate designs. The original machine's resistive screen and the RGDS's Android-like capacitive screen have different working principles and interaction methods. The resistive screen is pressure sensitive. Even with the original zero latency emulator, playing demanding touch games on the RGDS will still be quite compromised. Entering the emulator's secondary menu, the emulator is still Juice TK. The dual screen logic feels like dual screen fusion. Part of the menu interface is on the top screen and part is on the bottom. The bottom screen is basically the right half of the entire display. Let's take a moment to briefly explain the menus of this particular emulator. The first page, the main menu, mostly shows the emulator's version and name. This is version 2.5.22. You can perform configuration changes, enable cheat codes, manage save state slots, restart, return to the game, or exit the emulator. Delving into the configuration options submenu, you'll discover video settings, display speed, sound activation, and also fast-forward functions. Then into video options, there's the usual frame rate, screen orientation, and screen swapping. Most importantly, you can enable HD 3D rendering. The effect is quite noticeable, but you need to enable multi-threading below it as well. Let's make a comparison. I think after turning on HD 3D rendering, the jaggies are significantly reduced. However, this emulator lacks an LCD filter, which I believe is a significant drawback when playing text-based games. The screen appears quite blurry, which isn't ideal. Perhaps it's due to the dual screen fusion. Neither screen can be turned off independently now. Single screen games will display the console type and a playing icon at the bottom. Under the Linux system, the 3568 processor still struggles to run PPSSPP. God of War on PSP, with no frame adjustments or settings changes, remains a formidable foe, running at less than 20 frames per second, which is too slow. I also ran a standby power consumption test on this system. At night, the battery was about 44%. Then I started a PSP game and closed the lid to put it to sleep. Then, when I went to check it again around noon the following day, I found it had actually consumed 7% of its battery life. Since the game doesn't display the battery percentage, I had to access the device's settings menu to see the exact battery level. On Linux systems, closing the lid will automatically put it to sleep. However, I did discover a bug. If you close the lid and then plug in the power adapter to charge the device, it will actually wake up even though the lid remains closed. You have to close it again for it to sleep properly. To briefly summarize, on the Linux system, it lowers the barrier to entry for gaming, and its standby control is excellent. The Linux system also has lower latency and a simpler UI interface. Regarding its shortcomings, beyond the inherent limitations of the 3568's performance and the screen not being pixel-perfect hardware constraints, the device also suffers from high power consumption. Playing certain emulators causes the unit to become noticeably hot, and its charging speed is rather slow, requiring around 3 hours for a full charge. The absence of an LCD filter in the NDS emulator is another significant drawback. Rather than using it for playing games, I actually prefer to watch some older 4:3 aspect ratio animated films on it. Alright my friends, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.